What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It's Thursday, January 9th, fresh off another episode of Dynamite. I'm stoked. We're going to get right into it today. Let me first introduce my two co-hosts, esteemed colleagues, guys I've known a long time, two daily broadcast originals, no less. First and foremost, I'm going to send this one out to Philadelphia. Keep this one in North America for now. Anthony Ricciardi, head of opinions. What's going on?
How you doing, Clark? No, this is always fun. We did Raw on Monday, the live reaction stuff. It's always fun doing the daily, covering my old stomping throwback Thursday grounds. And when you have two people that order the Dynamite Diamond ring, it's always kind of fun with the other participant that'll be on here. Let's get to it.
Absolutely. I'm stoked to get into it. Yes, speaking of Monday, I did actually file that complaint formally with the California State Athletic Commission. We'll see if they get back to me about reversing the Liv and Rhea decision. That is, Anthony. No, I'm totally kidding. But in all seriousness, let's send this one across the pond really quick to our third host of the evening, afternoon, morning, depends on where you are geographically, but he's the host of the Soul Sessions. It's Soul himself in the building, Mr. AEW. What's going on?
It's very kind of you to give me that moniker. But yeah, I think, Anthony, it's going to be interesting when we get our rings and seeing what the quality is. Like, someone's going to get, shafted by one knockoff, fell off the assembly line. Like, just send it anyway. It's probably going to be me with the shipping prices. But, I'm excited to see how these turn out. It's going to be the interesting part on that. But nonetheless, we had a great episode of Dynamite, so I'm sure we'll get into some excellent high points indeed.
No question about it. This was a fun one in my eyes. I really did actually enjoy this episode a lot, and I didn't anticipate it so much. I don't think it was the most heavily promoted of episodes. Yes, it was promoted, definitely. Especially if you're like a day-to-day watcher like you or I, Soul, but it wasn't one of those ones that you were like, oh my goodness, this is going to be the card of the, whatever. It over-delivered in a lot of ways, which I think is cool. AEW needs some wins like that, and they got one last night. I think no question about it. One of the things I love the most is right here with our first topic, and that is Powerhouse Hobbs getting this AEW title shot. I love it. We need to capitalize upon this. I'm not saying put the title on Hobbs, but if it's me, I'm going to give my opinion first on this one. Hobbs needs to be the closest yet. He needs to throw the Death Riders all over the place like rag dolls for a long time and be that close. Maybe it's a foot on the ropes. Maybe it's something else. But Jon Moxley needs to just escape this one. Also, before I toss it to you, Anthony, how about the facial expression on Renee Paquette's face when Hobbs told her dead to her face that he was going to make her husband, Jon Moxley, his B word. Mm-hmm. Absolutely great stuff. I thought that was one of the highlights of the night. Monster shout out, Renee. She sold it perfectly. It was great. But I enjoyed this. What are your thoughts on it? And what are your thoughts on the Hobbs-Moxley matchup?
Here's the thing. One of the things that AEW typically does very well in their Dynamites is the opening matches are usually really good. Usually. They're usually solid matches. The casino aspect to this, I loved it. I know this wasn't the opening match, but still, I thought this was an awesome follow-up to a great opener. Hobbs winning this, I thought, did a lot for Hobbs, because when you looked at it, it was kind of like all heavy hitters coming out. It was one heavy hitter after another. The only negative that I would say about this thing is I think they made a mistake with Ricochet, where it's like, okay, you did the little spoof with the swerve thing, but there was no difference to Ricochet. The look, the style in the ring was exactly the same. I know that's a side topic, but that was a critique that I had with that. Hobbs winning this, I'll be perfectly honest. As much as I've said, I think they're keeping Moxley holding this title to All In and giving it to Darby. I'll be honest. I think the person who should get it is Hobbs, because that's the guy you're building up. He shouldn't win it the first outing. That he shouldn't. The numbers game should play a role in that. But if he's going for it for a couple times and then he just completely decimates these people and just gets him to a point where, like, him winning, you could do something with that. I think Hobbs is way more potential somebody that you could build behind than Darby. I'll be honest with you. Darby's over. Darby's like a Jeff Hardy. He doesn't need the title. Plus, he's incredibly reckless in the ring. Hobbs is somebody that I think you can build behind. He's credible. He's believable. And him beating and out-strengthening Claudio and out-fighting them, I think that's more credible to me than Darby winning this thing.
Overcoming. Honest to goodness, Anthony, I did not expect that to be the direction you went.
Mhm.
But you kind of flipped me on maybe you do the shock.
To me, I think wrestling is missing a lot of credible champions in the sense of you believe he could legit beat this guy. You could believe he could legit beat people. Darby doesn't have that. Hobbs does.
Right. Well, and there's something about that look that Hobbs can give.
Yes.
And the other thing is, he's not, and this is no knock on the people that have come over from WWE, but he's not one of the big splashy WWE signings or anybody like that. This is a homegrown talent. At the end of the day, we don't usually mention him when we bring up the homegrown guys or the pillars, but Powerhouse Hobbs is absolutely homegrown by AEW. And I don't hate the idea.
You have a potential young Ron Simmons in this situation.
Yes.
When Ron Simmons
that's a great comparison.
Run
WCW.
the world title WCW.
All the way back.
The
Do not think late Ron Simmons or Nation Ron Simmons or Farouk. This is Ron Simmons, the world champion Ron Simmons. Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. Anthony, you kind of got me fired up about this when it comes to Hobbs. Soul, though, I got to get your opinion on it because obviously you've been following this Death Rider story as long as anybody and as closely as anybody. How does Hobbs fit into this and the future of the title picture? And how about him getting the victory last night? The crowd was very clearly behind him, which I thought was cool because I don't think the crowd came to see him win that match, but they left excited that he did. And that's something that's impressive, to say the least.
I mean, I think the crowd fully expected Jeff Jarrett to win it based off his promo of last Dynamite, but like Hobbs winning, I'm absolutely 100% okay with. I like Hobbs. I think he's a very entertaining wrestler and he's an absolute menace in the ring. But the fact is that Moxley and Hobbs have more history than some people believe. Obviously, go back to 2024. Hobbs was out injured because of obviously challenging Jon Moxley for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Because of that, Hobbs was on the shelf. So there's a lot of setup there. He challenged for an international title. He came out with an injury because of Moxley. He has that extra hatred and tenacity to go after Mox and get the championship off him. I don't think that's obviously the case. I think with AEW's title picture, for me personally, more that so than maybe even WWE's or TNA's or New Japan's, is that there's like a freeway split of fans that want to see become champion. There's the homegrown talent like Hobbs, like Darby, like Wardlow or Ricky Starks, that they want to see that people that were brought in by AEW, no unknowns, and built up and become champion. Down the line, you've got the popular main eventer stars that are like Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page. These people that are credible stars that have done great things in World Championship pictures scenes before. Kenny, Swerve, and Hangman obviously held the AEW Championship before. Will Ospreay, Rev Pro, and New Japan. And then you have the third aspect, which is the ex-WWE guys. People like Adam Copeland, people like Jericho, people like Malachi Black, people like Ricochet, that their home grown was WWE. They really made themselves their names there. They've held WWE championships before, some haven't, but their aspect of being previous WWE guys in some people's minds thinks they are elevated. So there's a freeway street with the AEW championship picture. Which one that AEW ends up deciding to go with Moxley, which is in a very big program around the title picture, I think that they really should build that everybody wants a championship. When you're a champion and everybody wants to go after you, you feel like a credible threat and a credible goal to achieve. If nobody wants to become the world champion, then what does the world championship mean in the first place? I know Cody Rhodes said it in the past. He said it on podcasts that everybody should have that drive to go for the world championship. Don't settle into one picture scene. Don't settle into the mid card or settle in as an enhancement talent. You want to become better. You want to become the top dog, and you want to go after the world championship. So I think everybody should drive and go for that world championship. Who should take it in the end? Honestly, with how things have turned out in AEW's recent picture, I'm a bit confused. I've got 3 names who should go for it. But it's hard to say because there are a lot of great talent in AEW that could be exceptional world champions.
Do you want to give me those 3 names?
I could, but you can find it on my Patreon for $1 a month. I'm kidding. Look, for me personally, it'd be Darby, Ospreay, or Kenny.
I honestly can agree with those 3. I would add Hobbs to that now after last night. Truthfully, I would. I just think it would be cool because I think there's a possibility to really, really, really build a major star with Hobbs if you pull it off properly.
The thing is with Hobbs, though, is that, don't get me wrong, he's great. I think he'd be a great world champion. But other singles goals he's not really done well. His TNT Championship run is one of the worst in the company's history.
That's what I think would make this interesting.
I don't think.
Here's the thing, so
here's the thing though with AEW though, and their pictures that yes they have the TV deal with HBO and the Max thing, so they've got great things there, but their attendance and arenas have scaled down from their prime in 2021 to 2022. So unless their main goal is to get back to that echelon, right now Hobbs isn't the champion that they need for that time. There's other names that can get them into that previous picture. But if they don't mind about that and they're happy about their position and they want to do like a good switch thing and make something that some people are going to be like, oh, really shocking, I'll tune in to see what happens next. But with Moxley and AEW's history with the title picture, I don't think they're dropping the world championship on a Dynamite. It'll be a pay-per-view.
That's fair. Last thing I'll say about this before we do keep it moving here is I just think part of me really just wants to see the world championship again. I'm starting to get tired of it being in the briefcase.
It all comes down to booking. The booking is what is going to drive ratings and attendance. It's not, oh, this person's got the belt. It's got to be a compelling story that people care. Right. That's what it is.
It's true. Okay. Also, we've got a comment in here from Stream Elements, and I'm gonna ask a question. Did we do this? If not, thank you so much. It says Wrestling Republic is now live, streaming talk shows and podcasts. Powerhouse Hobbs, the next AEW champion. WR Daily. Thank you. Whatever that is.
Is that a new Chaos Secretary account?
I have no idea how that happened. Honest to goodness, I'm curious. I have no idea. Let's keep it rolling though. Let's talk about MJF and Jeff Jarrett. Now, if you had a thermometer for level of trust in a room, it would be on freezing if you put these two in that room. That's what I've got to say about that, which makes it exciting to me in a lot of ways. Anthony, as Eric Bischoff said, controversy creates cash. How about these two just talking? Are there two bigger swashbuckler, swindler, snake oil salesmen in the game than MJF and Double J?
I mean, Jarrett's entire career, his greatest heights were as a heel. And, I got a lot of flack the last clip that got posted saying that I didn't care about I didn't think anybody asked for a farewell tour for Jeff Jarrett. There's no question Jeff Jarrett's a legend. I am not disputing that. But he is not at the same caliber of a Sting for a farewell tour, or a Cena, or even a Goldberg, if you want to argue it. Jarrett was never truly a draw in wrestling. He never was. Tremendous talent, but he's not a draw. So MJF, he's in this unique position because he is trying to regain that spark that he had before he went out the first time during the contract, the whole thing. He's trying to rebuild himself into that character. I thought it was a little confusing where he wanted to partner up with Jeff Jarrett, and Jarrett had a valid point. It's like, you got to the mountaintop once. I was there 12 times. Now, granted, a huge portion of that was when you owned the company and you were the booker, and the other one was your buddy was in charge, but still, during the dying days of WCW, that really counts. But in serious, storyline wise, it didn't really make much sense why MJF would be wanting to help Jeff Jarrett when MJF just wants the belt for himself. So it really doesn't make any sense. And I understand you're trying to do this perspective of Jarrett, I guess, as a face during this farewell tour. It's not believable. Honestly, at the end of the day, we want heel Jeff. If Jeff Jarrett's going to do a farewell tour, then you need to do your greatest hits, which is you as a heel, conniving, smashing people over the head with guitars. It's the same man that took out Mae Young and Moolah, and whacked Moolah with a guitar, and had the good housekeeping match with China. He was hated at one point. This man was absolutely hated. So it doesn't make any sense of trying to make him a face in this scenario. I almost would have had the partnership and would have had Jarrett smash Max with the guitar at some point instead of what they did, in all honesty.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you could do so much just heel stuff with these two.
Yes.
It is one of those things that you'd love to almost see a heel.
I
type
would have
of a
done
deal.
a partnership, but at
No pun
some
intended,
point,
or rhyme.
there should have been a heel partnership. But at some point, a guitar needed to be used. Let's just
somebody turns on somebody for
Yes.
sure. Soul, I want to get your opinion on this one too, just because we got some time here. I know you're a bigger fan of Jarrett than most. What are your thoughts when it comes to this one in MJF?
I really like Jeff Jarrett. I really don't get the overall despise or hatred from him by some parts of the internet wrestling community. I think he's really enjoyable.
The 90s is why I have a problem with him.
Sorry, I was still a twinkle in my dad's eye in the first half of that year. And I think he's really enjoyable. I mean, look at the reception he got with AEW and Dynamite and Collision in Cardiff. He was absolutely loved by the Cardiff people. He was loved. And for Jarrett though, like, I think it's funny to see him in the world title picture because it could be like the old stallion trying to get his one last run. Do I think he's going to hold it? Probably not. But with the way I've stated that the AEW title picture is in the free roads, like he would be like a fourth conjunction road that's waiting to add on to the turning point. Like he's not going to hold it. That's just the way things are. If anything, I wouldn't mind like him, Lethal, and Satnam holding the trios would be a little funny duo. But nonetheless, I think what Jeff Jarrett is doing, especially with MJF, is, as MJF said, it's 1 year contract. It's not a 3 year. It's like what Sting's done, announced that the final round's coming up. So I think Jeff Jarrett is going to work with the people in AEW he really wants to work with, like the MJFs, maybe even the Hangmans again, or maybe heck, Jeff Jarrett, Kenny Omega. I'd watch it. I think it'd be absolutely entertaining to see Jeff Jarrett block a V-trigger with a guitar shot. That would be absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I think Jeff Jarrett is really going to be working this year in 2025 and maybe even the start of 2026 with the people he really wants to work with. For what his final appearance will be, maybe he'll do like what Sting did and it'll be at Revolution. But what Jeff Jarrett, what is it, Memphis that the Jarretts are really known for? Americans help me. History. It's Memphis, right?
Tennessee. Yes, the state of Tennessee.
Same thing, right?
Same
thing. Cool. Same thing, right? Cool.
You had it right.
I know my geography. But whatever his hometown is or where he was really popular, because I ain't gonna get into the location thing again. To hold a pay-per-view there, like hold it there, and you could even if you don't want to do it as a pay-per-view, which I would be shocked that they wouldn't, for monetary gain and things for Max for advertising. You could even have a Dynamite there, and they called one coming up Maximum Carnage. Why not just call one the Last Outlaw or something like that, just to give him a send-off? I think, especially with AEW, they've always given retirement matches or sends-off to the legends very, very well. That's something that they've always done particularly well.
I would say Nashville, I think, is actually more synonymous with Jarrett. So it would be Nashville, just to make sure the geography is clear. But I think the point still stands. It makes a lot of sense. And you'll fill a building in Nashville for Jeff Jarrett. That's one place around the United States that you'll definitely be able to fill a building for sure.
And Cardiff. And Cardiff from history.
And Cardiff, there you go. Oh, and if he can pull off the Taylor Swift connection, you can start filling even more buildings. We know that.
Well, yes, if you say Taylor Swift's going to sing his song when he comes out, well, I mean, you could easily fill a stadium.
Isn't she technically? Isn't there isn't that a long-standing story that she used to babysit his kids in Nashville? I believe that's true. And then Rosario with Sorry I'm Late. Good afternoon. What's going on, Rosario? Good to have you. Absolutely, always. You're just in time for the ad break, which is going to be fun. Let's do this. Let's run through this really quick. First and foremost, if you haven't checked out Demand Progress Plus yet, what are you waiting for? we've got a code. We're going to give you a discount. This is one of the best streaming platforms when it comes to professional wrestling on the internet that you can find. Unbelievable tape library, all kinds of good stuff. Some of your favorites cut their teeth here. Not only that, the current products and the current chapters just keep getting better and better. But use this code, Watch Progress 1. They'll get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and many more. And then one more while I'm up. You're going to want to check out the Itsy app on Saturday. We will be live. Download the app. The Itsy app is on the App Store or Google Play Store. And you're going to want to head to the upcoming streams section Saturday morning. If you're on the West Coast like me, that's 9 a.m. That's noon Eastern and 5 o'clock in the UK. If you're over there, it's going to be me. I know it's Big Aunt You, as well as Takes and who knows, many more. But check it out. Download the app and check the stream out this weekend. You will thoroughly enjoy it. We're going to have a really good time. But let's keep it rolling over here when it comes to our Dynamite breakdown, and let's talk about Chris Statlander in a triple threat match. Statlander, Storm, Nightingale, 3 absolute stars. The winner gets the number 1 entry into the Casino Gauntlet match. Chris Statlander picks up the victory with Wednesday Night Fever over this hot new upstart that I've just, I think she's got a bright future, Toni Storm. Big win for Statlander. Let's talk about it here, Soul. What are your thoughts on it? And I mean, how good is this rookie, Toni Storm? She looks amazing.
Oh, she's amazing. We need to have AEW bring out the new Upper Deck rookie cards for when Toni Storm.
Yeah, I can't believe I hadn't heard of her before.
Hey, I'm surprised as well. Apparently, she was somebody in NXT UK, but I've watched that show religiously, and I can't see her there. So
no memory
at all. I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me a bit of flack, especially from Allison. I want Chris Statlander to take the title off Mariah May as soon as possible. I've not been really jiving with Mariah May as AEW Women's World Champion. I don't know what it is. I like Mercedes, but with Mariah, it seems like it is just the same thing. She comes out, says the women are beneath her, the division sucks, I'm going to have a match, and then goes on to have a match. Matches are fine and great, even some parts, but I think with AEW, again, their main problem is they have too many heels as champions. When the main men and women are both heel champions, it doesn't bring a fun dynamic. Look at WWE. Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley. Yes, they're faces, but they've had heel champions for a good long while, and now it's a fresh switch. I just kind of want it to be, if it's Statlander, I'd be absolutely happy with that. I think Statlander is great, but obviously the Women's Casino Battle Royale at Maximum Carnage next week is going to be for the championship opportunity at Grand Slam Australia. I heard this rookie Toni Storm is from the land down under, so I would like her to see that and become a first-time AEW World Champion. It'll be really great for the rookie, but I think it'll be great.
I would love to see that. I mean, just a hot prospect to say the least. You can see she looks like she's been around forever, but obviously, out of nowhere. Cinderella story. It would be pretty amazing to see her take the title off Mariah May. It's interesting they have similar movesets. I don't know how that happened. Right. I mean, sorry. Is moveset still a buzzword we're not supposed to say? Am I in trouble now? I'm totally kidding.
Fine.
We've got Josh Markowitz with an interesting comment here, though. He said yesterday on the show, nobody predicted that Statlander would win. I was so surprised. That's fascinating. And I apologize that I missed that show, but thank you so much for everybody that filled in. That's you included, Soul. But yeah, no, that is interesting to me. I mean, Willow Nightingale and Toni Storm are hard to pick against. Jokes aside, I understand that, but I do hear Soul when it comes to the potential of Statlander taking that title off of Mariah May. Anthony, do you have an opinion when it comes to the world title picture on the women's side here? Do you like the idea of Statlander defeating Mariah May, or do you see another prospect waiting in the wings to take that belt?
I believe they're going to give it to the amnesia patient known as Toni Storm. I'm assuming that's the direction they're going with this.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure you and Soul both have the same amnesia. I know. But in all seriousness, like when I look at this, Mariah May's run, I never really saw much in her. Like I know there was this big buzz around her, and I'm not saying she's bad, but she's playing like a poor poor cosplay version of Timeless. Like she's not making it her own. Like just going, they're beneath me, but like that's not. Her and the Cameron thing last night, it was horrible. I didn't enjoy any of that. I would get behind Statlander, somebody you can get behind. Willow was somebody that should have never dropped the title to Mercedes. That's been another disaster run.
The funny thing is, I'm sure we'll all agree here, is like I would rather see Harley Cameron with the title because I think she's absolutely funny and entertaining. I really love seeing Harley Cameron. She's entertaining as anything. She can turn anything and just have fun with it.
I think you need to get Athena out of the basement known as Ring of Honor. That would be a better champion on AEW than the current two.
See, I don't have as big of a problem with Mariah May because I got to give her credit. The match with Thunder Rosa did deliver in my eyes. I think she did a great job of the heel work with the dad.
I'd rather see some Thunder Rosa have that title.
Now, Thunder is somebody that I would put in the conversation, no question. Rosario asked an interesting one here. Do you guys believe they should get rid of the TBS championship and only keep one championship? Absolutely not.
They're not going to do that.
I absolutely do not think they should do that. And here's why. I think the reason that we've got mid-card titles in WWE in the women's division is because of the risk that was taken to deliver us the TBS championship. And you got to honor that. And what Jade did with it, and now what Mercedes Moné is doing with it, I don't think you can take that title away, especially not now. Yeah. Not now. It's too established.
I love the TBS championship in design as well with the TNT because
it's a gorgeous belt.
It looks amazing, and I would rather want a women's mid-card championship than women tags. I don't want women tags in AEW. They've not really been the best belts worldwide. I know, obviously, Bianca
it's
and
just
Jade have
hard
really
to build an entire division.
Look at TNA's knockouts, right? They can't introduce a women's mid-card because their women's division is literally 6 people, and some of them are spread into a tag division that doesn't really work. You need to have, obviously, the talent there to build a division around. AEW does have plenty of women. Yes, obviously, some have to split their time with Ring of Honor and not in the best way. Like Athena, I would love to see her in AEW more regularly. I'm sure we all would.
Absolutely.
But they have that ability to do a women's mid-card championship. That Mercedes Moné, for whatever you say about her, she's had 12 matches in 2024, and they were all great. They were all great.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we didn't like the Britt Baker one, but I thought she's been fine. She's not been like Hogan coming out and, squashing people and doing this and that. I think she's been a very good wrestler in addition to AEW. She's now doing great things, obviously, with the Red Pro Championship, wherever that's going to lead to her for the UK scene. So it's exciting times. But yes, keep the TBS.
Yes.
AEW has no problem.
I'm with you, especially, and here's the thing too. And he said they really don't have that many organic women's tag teams. Coach 23 added that, and that's my thing. Even the WWE, they do a good job on and off. It almost feels like with the women's tag titles because it doesn't feel like there's a true division because a lot of the title holders are 2 single stars.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the men's side, you've got DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, A-Town Down Under. The women's side, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, or name a name, not a team name. Yeah. Like the last one I could think for WWE.
The Iconics.
Yeah, the Iconics, the Boston Hug connection that Bayley and Sasha used to do back in the day.
Yes.
There's no teams. It just feels hokey when it's just 2 single people added together and no team behind it.
And almost every story is a can they coexist story, which doesn't. I appreciate tag team wrestling where you're really positive that the team have each other's backs, right? There's time and place for that kind of stuff, for the can they coexist or for the potential turn. But I like tag team wrestling often. You look at FTR, there is no question they are best buddies. They got each other's back. They know what's going on. They work as a unit, and that allows psychology in the ring that you don't get when you're not sure if they get along.
The problem in wrestling in general is that the teams like the Dudleys or FTR or the Road Warriors,
Hardys,
they set out to be a team. When talents get in the business this day, they look at tag team as a launching point to a singles career. They don't set out to be a tag team. They look at the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty route. They don't look at the Dudleys. They don't look at the Hardys.
Or like even Road Warriors right?
Yes.
And it's interesting too, though, because I think you can do both. Look at the Harlem Heat. There was no debate about the Harlem Heat getting along, and then Booker T still had an amazing singles career, right?
And Jeff had an amazing Jeff and Matt had an amazing career as solo stars as well.
Yes.
But
Edge and Christian,
Edge and Christian, yes,
it's still possible.
it is absolutely
Even the
possible.
Usos right now, the Usos had a sustained stretch of there's no question that they're best.
The Lucha
they're
Bros.
close.
The Lucha Bros are
Lucha
another
Bros.
perfect example. They've had great career. But I think as far as the women's tag team thing, they're not really true established teams. That's number one. And number two is time. There's only so much time on each individual show to feature all these belts, which is a problem why there's too many titles in wrestling, because everyone has one. You got to try to fit everything in. It's a problem. I think if they did a standalone women's show, I think whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, both, whatever, I think you could do a lot more.
That'd be really cool.
If you had a standalone person.
I actually think that's a great idea, Anthony. Honestly, that's a great solution.
That's the only way you're going to get.
It would do numbers because the quality of women's wrestling right now is really high.
I think, especially with what Anthony said, it's like the moniker saying, if everyone's a champion, then what does it mean?
Correct.
Not everyone can. It should feel prestigious, and AEW has had that problem. But WWE has it as well, because if you look at they're on Raw.
WWE's had it historically, by the way.
Like there is a lot there. Now, obviously, they have fluctuating times with their shows. They kind of have that ability, but there always is so many time, especially with AEW. Now that Rampage is gone, I wonder how the Continental Classic will go this year, because they've basically lost an hour of time to do matches. And there were some matches from the Continental Classic done in its inaugural year and this year. So how will that work into the factor of this year's Classic? But nonetheless, if AEW does like a women's show or even a women exclusive show on HBO Max, I watch it. I think it'd be really enjoyable and it'd be a really great show.
I would be all over that 100%. Okay, let's get to our main event though, because I know we all have stuff to say about this one. Kenny Omega's back. If you didn't see that match at Dynasty, Wrestle Dynasty, watch it. This guy is the Pablo Picasso, the Michael Jordan. It's special what he can do when motivated. And I don't know if there's anything more motivating than having 2 feet of your intestines cut out of you at the peak of your health and the peak of your career, no less. What an incredible promo. What an incredible return. And not only that, I am just excited to have him back. He is 2 for 2. He's that dang good. 1 promo, 1 match. He's batting 1,000 since his return. And we had an earlier conversation, my friends, about who should take the title off Jon Moxley. It's Kenny Omega. That's the answer I go with. I'm sticking with. I mentioned Hobbs. It wouldn't bother me earlier. Wouldn't bother me if it was Darby. It's Kenny Omega. I go back to the death match that they had, or the lights out match that they had in Maryland, and they got fined for the spike through the glass table, early Dynamite. I mean, this is the guy. And I loved the way they're going to ease him back in with the Callis family rivalry. Him and Ospreay alongside each other. We know their history. There's all kinds of stuff here. But get me to Ken Omega, Jon Moxley in an efficient way, and I will be an excited Clark come the end of the year. Soul, I'm going to start with you. Did you have the same feeling? I know you're a big Kenny fan.
Professional wrestling is a better place with Kenny Omega in it, 100% in my mind. I don't care what any old-timer wrestler says or any of their lackeys or followers says. Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers of the last 20 years, 100% in my mind. I don't care what anyone else says. Also, to quickly have a fanboy moment as well, the fact that we get to hear Masayoshi Soken's music on weekly television. He's somebody who's done his Kenny Omega's recent theme, but he's also a legendary producer in Japan, does the Final Fantasy series. Exceptional music. I can't believe we're going to hear that on weekly television. That's absolutely bonkers. But with Kenny's return promo, I think it really sets in mind that nothing lasts forever. Life can just come like that one moment and you're gone. and with Kenny Omega's role in AEW, ever since he dropped the championship, he was really there to help establish the trios division with the Best of 7 series with the Lucha Bros. He then dropped it to House of Black. And then after that, they kind of went for a bit of a good old war with the BCC. But then after that, of course, it was the Golden Triangle War. It was him and Jericho,
Yes.
Golden Jets, with him and Jericho against the Bucks. And that's obviously was him gone for a wee bit. With somebody like Kenny Omega, he is main card status. He is main eventer status. Would I like to see him hold the TNT? Would I like to see him hold the International or the Continental Championship? Of course I would. And he's had his iconic moment with the tags with Hangman. He's had his iconic moment with the trios with the Elite. We had AEW World Champion Kenny before as a heel, which really built into the story with Hangman. And it was an exceptional story, one of AEW's best. But we've not had this real fired up face Omega champion before. Now, obviously, I predicted that Darby Allin is going to take it off Moxley at All In, and that's where they are going. I would not be surprised if they pivot and put the belt on Kenny, and you could then still drop it to Darby in a respect moment, or you could drop it to somebody like Takeshita or Fletcher to build them as credible heels. But I genuinely, 100% in my mind, think Kenny Omega as AEW World Champion might be something that AEW will have to look at and think, we might actually have to do this because it might be what be needed for the best of the company and the fans. Because Kenny Omega is the best belt machine. He is one of the best.
It's so true. It's so true. And like you said, pro wrestling is a better place with Kenny Omega in it. Coach 23 is absolutely correct on this. He said LeBron, Clark, he's LeBron. HBK is still Jordan. I 100% agree. That may have been a reach, but I'll stick with Picasso. 100%. Rosario said he's never been a fan of Omega's promos, but definitely will watch the show based on my reviews. Dude, yeah, no, you have to check it out. I mean, sincerely, what he went through is incredible. And it's interesting to me. There's a lot of like injury type angles that we see in wrestling often. This one's so real, right? There's a lot of like, his muscle ripped in half and he got back early and all of that. No. Kenny Omega was on like the verge of dying for real. An absolute amazing athlete in his prime of his career. And not only did he have the will to come back, but it's even stoked his fire further. And that's something that needs to be celebrated. Diverticulitis is something that Brock Lesnar dealt with. And it is a serious, serious thing. And for him to return like he never missed a step, like he never missed a beat, was mind-blowing to me. And I loved this promo. I think I read some things online before I give this to you, Anthony, really quickly. People saying like, the fact that his actual return was the match in New Japan sort of devalued with this promo. And I think the promo reversed that from being the case, if that makes any sense. The promo itself telling the story, he was in a different situation returning in New Japan. And telling the story here, it landed. With me, it hit me right in the feelings. No question about it, because it was a journey to be back, and I'm happy to have him back. Are you in the same boat there, Anthony? And what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, here's the thing. Kenny Omega, I've never looked at him as a GOAT. I think he's exceptional. I think he's very good. But whenever the term GOAT was throwing around, I think of Shawn Michaels, I think of AJ Styles, I think of Will Ospreay, I think Eddie Guerrero, I think of Kurt Angle. I think of those names before I would think of Kenny. I think wrestling to see Kenny Omega back is great. I think the thing with Japan didn't make any sense to me. I know there's rumors and speculation going, oh, they weren't allowed to promote that thing. And I'm like, I don't buy that. Max is not competing with New Japan World or Triller for pay-per-views. They could have acknowledged it. I understand why some people would have a problem with it, of going, the promo should have been delivered before the thing in Japan. I get it, because that was the big thing. So to pretend like what happened in Japan was not canon, I don't get the logic there personally. I don't get that. I am curious to see how long Kenny Omega is going to be around, because that's the other thing. The man's had a lot of injuries over his career, and that was before the serious life-threatening diverticulitis. So I don't know how much Kenny has left in the tank. That's the other thing too. So if you're going to put the belt on him one last time, I could see Kenny. I think long term, the plan is to put the belt on Ospreay. I could see them going to Darby and then having Christian cash in with his thing, and then take the belt off of Darby because Darby really in truth probably doesn't even want the belt, and then maybe Kenny goes after Christian. I don't know if that's the direction they go. They give Moxley some time off the air, and then Ospreay is the one that eventually takes it off of Kenny and passing of the torch. If that's the direction they're going to go with it, you don't know what Kenny has left on his to-do list. When you have a life-threatening situation and you almost die, your priorities shift. So you
drastically
what you want to achieve left in the wrestling business changes. Your perspective may severely change.
And that's where, Anthony, to your point about that changing, that's why I'll give him the pass on the New Japan thing. I think Kenny did that for Kenny.
No,
I'm cool with that.
I mean, AEW should have acknowledged it more than they did.
I would agree.
That's my point. Not on Kenny.
I would absolutely agree. I just think with this one in particular, I'll give Kenny the pass for sure. Because I think Kenny did that one for Kenny. I mean, that match was absolutely it is early match of the year candidate. It's one of the best matches I've ever seen.
The promotion for the storytelling is what ultimately probably hurt. It would be in a higher category if it had the correct promotion behind it.
I couldn't agree more, because what was so interesting to me is I didn't get enough promotion. Thankfully I watch enough. I know Gabe Kidd and I know and I didn't get enough. But just the entrances alone, if you watch it, when you watch it all the way through, it is cinematic. Now, did I think Tanahashi crying was a little excessive? Yes, that was a little out there. That was a bit much. And even like the oversell on the abdominal stretch for Inoki was a little like, okay, I get it, you're honoring a legend, but it was a little hokey. But other than that, that match was. And the other thing that I loved about it is almost everything felt organic. Even if the initial plan was that Gabe Kidd would be the face wrestler and fighting from underneath against Kenny, it appeared as if the mood shifted and Kenny was confused. And that's some of the brilliance of Omega to me.
But by the way,
that's where he's at his finest.
One little side note, because this is probably the only time I'm ever going to be able to say this.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the commentator got in trouble for trying to build a feud between AEW and New Japan.
Yeah, it was kind of odd.
I thought that was ridiculous.
I mean, if he's going off script and
no, he's trying to make a story compelling that they did not promote well. So I don't have an issue with him on commentary. I'm not looking for debate, but that's my opinion.
I have an issue with it. I'll say.
Well, then we could talk about that.
Here's what's interesting too is they did. I don't think so. I completely hear you on. I was entertained by it personally.
So was I. Yes.
Right. But I didn't also think it was that smart, because I was sitting there like, oh, what's he doing here? And it is interesting that they sent Rocky Romero out.
Yeah.
They sent Rocky out there to go save the day. They were like, hey, Rocky, go say the nice things.
To me, like, it was promoting a match. I didn't view it as, oh, he went into business for himself. I viewed it as he's trying to promote this the same way Gabe Kidd did on social media.
As weird as it sounds, though, I think he overflipped once you heard the crowd reception towards Kenny. And I think that's part of the reason he was so aggressive with the comments was because he kind of was riding the wave of the audience, right? And it's the Tokyo Dome. It's a loud building and all of that. So in his defense, like that, he also posted, but then deleted the picture with Kenny. And so I'm wondering why he deleted it. Because maybe at the end of the day,
I don't know.
Maybe he was told to delete it. Maybe he wasn't. But at the same time, maybe Kenny hadn't heard what was said until after the fact. And then that's why he was told too. Yeah. There's a lot of factors that play there. I think that's a muddy water situation. What my hope is, like everything in wrestling, we can turn this into entertainment.
Yeah.
So if we can capitalize on it, let's do it. That's my ask. That's always my ask when it comes to wrestling. But at the end of the day, this actually brings us to the end of the day when it comes to this show in particular, the daily broadcast. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Of course, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. That helps us out a ton. We really, really appreciate the support always. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Soul, and Anthony, check us out tomorrow and the day after that. We'll be here same time, same place. That's noon Pacific. It's 3 o'clock in the East. That's 8 o'clock in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Have an excellent Thursday, and we will talk to y'all